Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit of the NBA Finals. Yesterday, I made a video about 40 minutes long breaking down what I thought. Um, and I got a little distracted near the end because there was a lot going on. Memorial Day in my neighborhood means a lot of fireworks and stuff. So, got a little distracted, but I got on some of the points that I wanted to make. I think I can kind of follow that up with a few other thoughts. One of the things that I think is really important, I'm sure I mentioned this in that 40 minutes, is that I think the Golden State Warriors must continue to rebound the basketball. That's what's really been the story for them in these series. They don't particularly take care of the ball very well. They're a turnover team, but they are obviously elite shooting the basketball. And so what's important for them is to recover their misses. Kevon Looney on the offensive glass, Andrew Wiggins on the glass, Draymond Green on the glass. Those are the type of things that I think ultimately determine the fate of the Golden State Warriors from series to series to series. That's what it's been. Because they've had issues with Klay Thompson's consistency, obviously with GP2 going down. They have the defensive kind of liability there. It's not a liability, but you had an advantage with him because you could stick him on people, and he's fast enough and talented enough to stay with just about anybody. So you miss GP2. There's a chance he could return in this series, which is a very big deal, but I don't know to what capacity, and I wouldn't be so quick to throw him out there like that. However, if they can get something out of him, if he can actually play, which would be a miracle, his defense would be imperative, important to say the least. So, rebounding, and also I just haven't figured out where I land in regards to this particular thing. And I've mentioned this, so I'm just going to repeat it. The Celtics struggled against the Heat. The Heat are not a good offensive team. The Heat are a very good defensive team, and they had issues with consistency scoring the ball. The Heat were able to stay alive in that series because the Celtics could not just push past them and keep a lead. They couldn't keep a lead because the good defense of the Miami Heat and because they go on their own scoring drought. So my thing is, if the Boston Celtics do that against the Golden State Warriors, even though the Boston Celtics play elite defense and should, in theory, be able to slow down the Warriors, the Warriors have so many multiple weapons, both on their bench and in their starting lineup, that can give you heavy amounts of scoring. And I don't think the Boston Celtics have dealt with anything like that. So, yeah, they were the best defense in the league, and I think that they are more than capable of doing great things against Splash Brothers. But can they win 4 games against the Splash Brothers when the Splash Brothers have home court? And Kevon Looney, who's going to be out there rebounding like crazy. Draymond Green, who's going to be out there rebounding like crazy, etc. Can they do enough on the offensive end against the Warrior defense to offset what's going to be inevitably thrown at them defensively and the scoring droughts that they're prone to have? So that is my concern about the Boston Celtics. As much as everybody likes them, I do think that a younger, more healthy, not healthy, but younger, more capable team based on the physical nature of who they have on their team. They got tougher guys, in my opinion, on their sides, younger guys, etc. They should be, in theory, able to run the Golden State Warriors out of the gym. They should be able to, but the Golden State Warriors have a bunch of young guys that they play regularly, so that should not be a thing. But if the Golden State Warriors didn't have any of those young players, this series would not be going their way in any way, in my mind. So that's why Wiggins and, like I said, Looney, Kuminga, Lee, everybody that they choose to play in this series is very important. They have to be good, and they have to understand that they're going up against elite defense, so not to get discouraged by missed shots and struggles. There are going to be certain situations where you're just not going to have nowhere to go if you're the Golden State Warriors. They are going to effectively stop you in situations that you're used to being able to score in. And that ultimately is the truth. Dang it, I did burn that bacon, by the way. It's done. So, all in all, what you do want to do is just make sure you keep an eye on turnovers if you're the Warriors, rebounding if you're the Warriors, and then if you're the Celtics, do not let a guy stay on the floor to miss shots. If he's having a cold night, if you got a guy, as soon as he goes 1 for 5, he has to go sit down, because the Golden State Warriors will not allow, in my opinion, for the Boston Celtics to have offensive, deficient players on the floor for too long without having it affect the score for the Celtics. That's why I was saying last night, Grant Williams can't, I don't believe, and he has been able to win games this way. The Celtics find a way. But I don't believe in this particular series against that offense, you can let Grant Williams have an 0 for night, not score, only attempt 3 shots, or have Marcus Smart go 4 for 18 or something. I don't think that can happen. I don't think you win that game if you're the Celtics. Let's see. So, like in the Warriors, look, they have had situations where they get blown out bad, or situations where they just don't show up. situations where their defense looks suspect, you're not going to win that game if you're the Warriors. If the Warriors' defense isn't solid for 7 games or 4, for every game that they play, that's probably going to be the game they lose. Because the Celtics going to play D. That's not going to be a question. The Celtics are a better defensive team than the Warriors. That is not up for debate at all. The Warriors are a good defensive team with great defensive players, Draymond Green. But it's no competition there in regards to the defense. So the Warriors are not going to be their efficient. They're not going to be taking care of the basketball. You have to account for that. And the offense isn't going to run as smoothly. That's just not happening. Al Horford, Marcus Smart, the Williams guys, they're not going to let that happen. So the Warriors are going to have to win some games ugly. They're going to have to win some ugly basketball games. They're going to have to put themselves in positions to withstand foul trouble, no different than the Celtics will. Teams that manage those situations are definitely have an advantage in the series. And, you just wonder. Someone put something out there that I read online in one of the comment sections. They were saying that they believe the Boston Celtics are going to try to spread the floor a lot to try to remove Draymond Green and Kevon Looney from the floor. It's basically what I think Dallas did in the only game that they were able to win. They shot the 3 ball so well that ultimately they had to remove Kevon from the floor. They didn't allow him to be his normal self. That's kind of what I think is a recipe for success for the Boston Celtics to a degree. But I question that because I also believe that if you do not want to get into a shooting contest with the Warriors, so in the midst of trying to give yourself that 3-point advantage, you understand that they're probably going to come down and jack up a shot in response to that. Now that could, in theory, play in the Celtics' hands if the Warriors start acting like that. When you start giving away possessions because the Celtics hit a couple threes, now you want to shoot threes and you miss them, you're going to lose that game. I'll tell you right now, Warriors, you're going to lose that game. The thing about the Warriors, and I mentioned this in them 40 minutes, they are great at shooting the 3, and one of the reasons why that is the case is because they don't overshoot it, particularly this season. They're not attempting more than 30 in most of these games. And they shoot a very solid percentage because of it. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like against that defense. But I think people are underestimating the defense that the Warriors play and how intent they are on the boards from game to game to game. The Boston Celtics, they are not as intent on the rebounding edge as they should be, in my opinion. They have big enough bodies and good enough rebounders to where they need to make that more of a priority than they do. That's what I've been seeing for the Celtics. They don't rebound as well as I think they're going to need to in this series. I'm telling you right now, rebounding is much more important than the pundits are telling you. I am telling you, because both of these teams are going to have moments where they brick shots. The Warriors because of the defense they're going against, and the Celtics is because of how they are. So whoever can get the better of the offensive glass and give themselves more possessions, or just the glass in general, and making sure they take possessions from the other team, I do believe that is going to help tremendously, regardless of what's going on in other areas of the game. As long as you're pulling down the glass, it's a very simple way to assure that you have more opportunities to win the basketball games you're in. A lot of people look at a lot of different things, and basketball is a complicated sport. It really is. But I'm telling you, some things, when it comes to basketball, it's not nearly as complicated as we make it seem a lot of times. It's really not. Yes, is there a million different ways to get to point B? Yes. But the fundamentals of how to win are simple. You take care of the basketball, you rebound the basketball, and you make sure you take good shots. You do not fall in love with any one spot. You attack from different areas if possible. And if you can do all those things while working together, you're going to give yourself the best opportunity to win. Sometimes you got to play defense harder and stronger than others, depending on who you're going up against. Obviously, you got to play harder defense, but you know that's going to, in theory, most of the time, take away from something on the defensive end. So finding that balance, which is what LeBron James and players have shown us, Kobe Bryant, guys who play both sides but choose when to exert themselves so that they have enough on the offensive end. That is understood to be important now. I get that better than I ever have in my life now. So, it's important for a guy like not really Grant Williams. I'll say like Jason Tatum, I think is a prime example of this. Or a guy like Andrew Wiggins is going to be a good example of this. Guys who are expected to do so much defensively, but are also expected to hit shots. They need to be ever so in tune with themselves to know that when they've exerted so much defensively that maybe their legs aren't strong enough to get off some of these rhythm shots that they like. At that point, maybe you drive at the basket. At that point, maybe you take a few steps in. I don't know. I'm not an athlete, but I'm saying be cognizant of your legs. Because teams that don't jack up bad shots in those situations give their teams the better possessions. I looked at guys like Max Strus, Reggie Bullock. Those are the guys that come to mind when I think about they need to get better at that, because they do exert so much on the defensive end to when they go down to be designated shooters, they brick in like crazy. They lost, and I think it had a lot to do with that. So Boston and Golden State going to have to, particularly those defensive players, they're going to have to understand maybe the shot won't fall, man. Rebounding is important because of that too. So that's what it is, man. I just want to give you guys a couple thoughts. Burnt my damn bacon, so that's what it is. But this is a great series, man. I'm telling you, this is a pick'em series, like Stephen A. said. It can go either way. I picked the Golden State Warriors to win in 7 because it fits my interest. But to be honest with you, I'm not really sure that's how I feel. It's going to go 7 games. Adjustments are going to tell the story. And superstars are going to be big, man. Superstars are going to be big. If they come up short, we'll talk about them too. BDF 44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.